ready to rumble here from Mid-Ohio. Welcome back to Monday Night IndyCar action live on RaceSpotTV. And after the chaos of the weekend as top-level drivers took their talents to the racing capital of the world, we focus ourselves on this tight and twisty track that will challenge the drivers to adapt themselves to the setup and the roller coaster of a strategy that will emerge. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati here, and so delighted that you join us for what is bound to be an exciting 42 laps of racing action. Qualifying underway right now, but if you're just joining us, let's talk to you about the schedule that these drivers are going through on what is a 12-week season. This is season 3 of the iRacing official schedule. There are races every 2 hours and drivers can jump in as many times as they so desire. We've already seen ourselves crisscross across of America, Road America, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and then last time out at the Tricky Triangle for the first time racing on the ovals this season. But Mid-Ohio sees us link back up, of course, with the NTT IndyCar Series, which will be making its way to this racing facility this coming weekend in the real world, and then Iowa the following weekend before we begin to get into the bit of a break that the Olympics will bring and some fun to be had. Into Lagos, Homestead, Miami, and Chicago Street Circuit all to come, and then Gateway, Watkins Glen, and Milwaukee Mile as the NTT IndyCar Series picks up for its championship finale. And well, speaking of championships, let's talk to you about how with 3 weeks in the books, things are looking right now. Phil Kraus, defending champion, still on top of these provisional standings early in the running, but Nicholas Sudik, Seb Alexander, and Sam Karasala, there's about 13 points between those three cars, not far off of Kraus. Burrell and Green tied for 5th. There's only 3 points then clear of Olivia Hayward. So a long way to go this season, and lots of championship storylines, I'm sure, to be talking about. So, qualifying is underway, and for the most part might even be done and dusted, with drivers getting 2 laps on track all to themselves. I see Rashard Craig failed to set his second flying lap. Frankie Francica is on the second flyer right now as we take a look at his number 11 carving out through the middle sector of the lap. But it is Phil Kraus on provisional pole. Margin back to Jaden Munoz about 0.2 of a second as Francica runs a little bit wide into the penultimate couple of corners. And then through the long keyhole, the carousel section here. That leads you towards a keyhole, I should say. And so he crosses the line, and that will indeed bring the session to a close. I was not quite sure if we'd have to wait for time to expire, but we are ready to go racing. Let's take you trackside here from Mid-Ohio, a full formation lap with which to work, so plenty of time to take you down through today's starting grid. And so Phil Kraus in that private label team hype entry will lead us to the green with a 106.532 netting in pole. Only about 0.2 clear though of Jaden Munoz in that Williams Esports machine, who had a great recovery drive in the VCO IndyCar Challenge this past Saturday. Kraus finished 3rd in that race. Burrell and Roseborough also in contention, line up on row 2. Matt Taylor and Brian Carey in the Madworks and the Power Slide entries, 5th and 6th positions with Charlie Sears, and the Nick Sudik 7th and 8th. It will be Ben Dickey and Bevan Moyes to round out your top 10 with Seb Alexander, Shady Ahmad, and then rolling from 13, Nelson Ulinski. Joseph Manning is alongside, about 2 seconds off a pole with Lucas Lodato, David Henger, and then Frankie Francica and Rashard Craig. Well, that first lap really not putting a benchmark down for him. He'll have a lot of work to do from the very back of the pack. Well, that's a look through the starting grid, and because I think the drivers were slightly unaware that they would be called to the cars to go racing so quickly, still waiting for most of the drivers to make their way down onto that starting box. As mentioned, 42 laps of racing lie in store. Drivers are required to use both the primary and the alternate compound of tire. The alternates are the red sidewall, a little bit softer in their nature, a little less durable, but of course give you a little bit more lap time. Alternates will last longer, but you can see that the track temperature not necessarily too warm, 37 odd degrees Celsius at the start finish line. It's the wind that maybe poses more of an issue. 23-kilometer-an-hour gusts of winds. Well, 9 rows of 2. 18 Dallara IR18s are ready to rumble here from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And the pace car peels off and away. And we've got our formation lap ahead of us. Let's look at tire compounds on the left side of your screen. And what a mix that we've got. So Phil Kraus on the alternates. Alongside him, Jaden Munoz, interestingly, deciding that he wants to be on the primaries. Norell and Roseborough swapped in terms of mines as well. And then you've got Taylor, Carey, Sears and Sudik, Dickey and Moyes, Alexander Ahmad, Olinsky and Manning, all the way through the front 7 rows. Either side, drivers electing for a different compound of tire. Timing is going to be available at timing.racespot.tv if you want to follow along with your favorite team and driver. Let us know, no matter where you're watching on from around the world, who you're cheering for and who you think will come out on top. Could it be the drivers starting on the alternate tire on the front row or the primary tire? Kraus or Munoz? Could go either way if you ask me. It's going to be track position that ultimately is the determining factor for Munoz in that Williams Esports car. How aggressive can he be to defend from Burrell behind in the Indy Alliance Racing number 3? Unsure. I tell you what though, these cool track conditions probably do mean the alternate tire, that red sidewall, gonna last a little bit longer through the course of the race itself. But anyway, that's all in the future. Questions to be answered. In the present, in the here and now, ready to see the pace car off and away, and Phil Kraus in control of the field. Defending champion, points leader, and in that private label, Team Hype with Powerslide Motorsports entry. What's he going to be able to do? Jaden Munoz alongside Texas's own. Kraus arcs out wide. He's in control of the field. And with 42 laps on the board, let's go racing at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Single file instantly inside of your top 5 or so. Brian Carey gets the jump on Matt Taylor. It's Seb Alexander alongside of Shady Ahmad. First side-by-side battle as we run ourselves up to the keyhole. Burrell on the push to pass. Interesting, he goes aggressive early. Brian Carey runs into the back of Brandon Roseborough. Oh, it's chaos. And as they run their way down the back straightaway, Carey stricken in the gravel. Munoz, Burrell and Kraus stretch their legs down to China Beach. Burrell, you look how much confidence he's got on the alternate tire compared to Jaden Munoz behind. Oh, and the separation. Shady Ahmad mixed up as well through all of the chaos on the opening lap. Somehow Brandon Roseborough did not lose the right rear on his car. It stayed attached. An uncharacteristic mistake in some ways from Brian Carey. His car's just taking a tow back to pit lane. Up to the top of the track. Kraus and Munoz already split by 1.4. One more car in the grass. It's Bevan Moyes. But at the end of the opening lap, look at the separation that's been built. Other cars stretch their legs. Alexander and Manning, wheel to wheel. And don't tell me 3 wide. Manning backs out of it, but still alongside. We run on board with a 13. Olinsky's had an issue. Franchigia might be involved as well. Nice and tidy from Manning. Alexander has officially been passed, has pushed to pass active. And the 13 and the 17. My word, what an opening lap. So how many replays are we going to have to go and take a look at? We'll begin to cycle through them when we can. But at least for the time being, Nick Sudik, Charlie Sears, 5th, 6th position. Can they close down on Matt Taylor? Remember, Sudik started on the primary tires, as did Matt Taylor. So Charlie Sears behind in some ways will be hoping, will be wanting to try and fight his way on forward. Sudik slips up. Small mistake will have big consequences. Sears can't make it. Can't make any sort of offense into the opening corner. He's got clean air behind. Meanwhile, second now officially 2 seconds off of your leader. As Jaden Munoz feels the pressure from behind, and Burrell burns what is now his second push to pass of this race. On board with the Indy Alliance Racing driver, driving from Japan. And around the outside, can he avoid being sent into China Beach? Munoz defends, and Burrell backs out of it. Discretion, the better part of valor, as they work their way on lap 3 of this race behind your race leader. Let's go over, though, to the start. And Brian Carey misjudged the braking zone, misjudges how much grip his tires will give him. And Shady Ahmad, you can see him slipping up, inset unshot. Brandon Roseborough is completely separate, of course. 16 losing the rear end almost by itself. And then later in the lap, of course, penultimate corner, Bevan Moyes. Oh, there's contact there with the 10. Ben Dickey gives the shoulder barge. But thank you very much, that's my position. And then Nelson Olinsky. Oh, rear end steps around through turn 1. Big old nasty snap. So just a handful of incidents on the opening lap. Rashad Craig, he's up 7 spots, biggest mover of the day, albeit starting at the very back. Chopping and changing, not done just yet as drivers try and make moves. Sears still unable to find a way past Nick Sudik. There is a look at the driver of the 6 who shares us his webcam today. We ride on board with Charlie Sears hunting down that pink and blue All-American iRacers machine. Oh, back end steps out. Is there a chance? Surely not. Not yet. Oh, it's pulled around the outside from Sears. Trying to make sure that Sudik knows. But I think he's fully aware the pressure building here. They've dropped 3.5 seconds off the back of Matt Taylor in the Madworks Motorsports number 9. And here comes eventually the look to the inside. No real commitment though. The door gets slammed shut by Nick Sudik. Back on power. And now on push to pass. Here comes the momentum. Forced the long way around. Kevin Burrell failed to make this work. Can Nick Sudik defend like Munoz did? Gives it his best, but Sears has got more. What a pass. And up to 5th. Next in queue, Dickey and Manning. Right over the shoulder of the 13. Out wide a little bit. And now sees the rear end step out on Ben Dickey. Through Thunder Valley to turn 11. Little clip of the inside curve from Dickey. Seb Alexander's in contention here as well. This little queue, battle pack going from 5th through 9th positions as we jump from what is a wonderful shot up top through turn 1. The margin for error, non-existent. Clip the curb on the inside, you're done. Clip the grass on the outside, oh, you're maybe in trouble. Stay out of it if you can. Back on the button. More drivers electing to try and make some moves. Ben Dickey hits the rev limiter in 5th gear. Now, that's not ideal. Has to sit behind Sudik for at least an additional lap. You see though, he's just so much more grippy through the S's. Sudik, much more meandering line, opening up that turn 9 in a way that the alternate running cars just don't have to do. Speaking of turn 1, what are we going to see here on the replay for Lucas Lodato? Oh, out wide. Rallycross though, not bad. He'll be invoicing for some lawnmower services, that is for sure. Let's check back in the fight for second. Kevin Burrell on the back straightaway. This is actually in the real world. You see that Honda marking on the left-hand side where the drivers actually start the race, the initial start zone. Very, very cool thing. As Charlie Sears seems to have dropped off the track. What's happened here? Seb Alexander is alongside, but with Sears using the button, getting that 60 to 70 horsepower spurt, they'll try and hold on, defend at least one position, but this is two cars on alternate tires. And Alexander's got the move done. Now that was a bit of a chop of the nose from behind. Joseph Manning, Rashad Craig in this fight as well. Let's go back and figure out exactly what happened though. So there was a big defense behind as well. Self-inflicted lockup maybe of the rear tires. Just look in the backdrop of the shot. Yeah, that's some cars who are being feisty. As Manning decides, you know what, maybe too rich for my blood. Down onto pit lane. Back on board though with Kevin Burrell. The race leader stretching that advantage. Lap by lap by lap. Last lap was an 8.2 for Kraus, 8.8 for Jaden Munoz. So it does indicate to us that Kevin Burrell might still be losing some time. There's Kraus in the bottom right of your screen. Has some traffic just in front now. That is the 18 of Nelson Olinsky. Cool, Munoz out wide, kicks up just that little bit of gravel. V's that cut back through the carousel, excuse me. As Kraus heads towards the keyhole. It's now 5.5 seconds at the line between your leader and those hunting him down. That camera angle just gives you such a great perspective for the elevation that these drivers are experiencing. Track really does fall with you as you exit onto this straightaway here. Similarly, as you rise out of turn one towards the keyhole, very much a bit of a climb up. They've done some rallycross racing here in the past, actually. It's been muddy, is all I will say. Sage Karam actually raced back here when it was very, very muddy. To the point where I think they no longer want to bring rallycross to the track ever again because it was so, yeah. It was an experience, even just watching on TV. So Charlie Sears has already used up 6 of his push-to-passes. I noticed that watching on the dash on his screen. As Seb Alexander checks up out of turn 9, entering Thunder Valley. You get 10 usages. Alexander's not touched him. It's not just about attack, though. Push to pass, maybe a bit of a misnomer. Push to defend, equally relevant as well. Well, these drivers are hitting the rev limiter. I have noticed that a couple of times. You want to get as close as you can to 12,000 RPM, let's not forget. Peak power in this car comes 11.5 to 12. Now Seb Alexander's locked the right front and gone straight at the keyhole. He loses one spot, fortunately not more. Unless he's got to slow down. Here comes Rashad Craig, his Indy Alliance teammate who is on the push to pass. Does not make the move. Very interesting. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. So there's Alexander out wide. One more look at it and jump on board. Does a decent job, you know. If he exits onto the gravel and the grass, he loses a lot more speed, a lot more momentum. Out wide, though, for Alexander. Both he and Craig losing time hand over fist. And officially that swap's going to come. Craig, now up 10 positions, sits in 8th. Meanwhile, what's happened here? Charlie Sears around the outside of Ben Dickey, giving it as good as he can. Going to get squeezed. No, going to get given room. And now burning through the push to passes as best as they can. I think it's a pretty good exit for Ben Dickey. Should be able to hold on the inside. Now Max Verstappen, Lando Norris shenanigans into the braking zone there. Nick Sudik now 10 seconds or so behind Matt Taylor. your race lead, it's very much splintered on up. There's Burrell, 1.5 behind Williams Esports and Jaden Munoz. And then Phil Kraus is now about 6 seconds up the road. Expecting, of course, alternates and primaries to swap around in the final stint of the race. Back over to that mid-pack battle. Defensive again from Dickey, up to turn 2. Exit out of the keyhole. Running down towards China Beach, which is apparently turn 4. That's a thing. But he's not going to be able to get alongside. Needs to be careful as well in terms of how fast and how quickly he is burning through the button usages. Do need to leave yourself with some in reserve at the very end. It's a great four-way fight, though. Has dropped Seb Alexander, maybe struggling on his alternate tires, hoping the window opens sooner rather than later. Ride with Rashad Craig, biggest mover of the day, plus 10. Started on the primary, so he'll go on to the alternates at the end. We'll give him a chance to maybe go and do an undercut. Can hear the hesitation on throttle. Dirty air, 3 car strong out through the left-hander of the opening corner. Patient on throttle. Gets the car to settle. Then punches it. Meanwhile, Nick Sudik talks on the radio and looks behind to see a half-hearted look from Ben Dickey. So Dickey and Sudik, let's not forget, are on the primaries. It's Charlie Sears, that's the odd driver out. Out through Thunder Valley, they will run. Single screen for Nick Sudik, proving that as much as here on RaceSpot we sometimes show off the biggest, the most expensive rigs, don't always need that, let's not forget. So 1 retirement, Brian Carey. 2 drivers 1 lap down, Joseph Manning and Nelson Olinsky. And Brandon Roseborough in the Hydro Race Geodesic car, tangled up with Carey on the opening lap here at the keyhole, is back out on track, albeit 4 laps down. Burrell is officially now dropped, by the way, almost 3 seconds behind second spot. So Jaden Munoz now starting to prove that the primary tires are very much holding up the longer into the run we go. Kraus is still the fastest driver on track, yes, but Phil Kraus is a man possessed often. And I can now say as his teammate, he drives some rather interesting setups. On board with Ben Dickey, hands at work, trying to keep the car balanced. Pit entry off on the left-hand side here. It is a corner. Have to be careful on entry, not to speed. Easier said than done. Next week we head back to the ovals, of course. We're going racing from Iowa Speedway. Fingers crossed my flight back from London lands in the nick of time as Charlie Sears gets underneath of Ben Dickey and now lighting up like a Christmas tree. 3 drivers on the button, including Nick Sudik, who's trying to take advantage and scamper off for the hills at China Beach. But Dickey holds on. Sears is alongside on the outside. And out through turn 4 was never really going to work. Yeah, very much looking forward to next week and hoping that my flight lands in time. I'm scheduled to land at around 12-something p.m. Pacific. Broadcast start around 5 p.m., so there's enough buffer. But international flights, Heathrow, SFO, you never know. Lock up once more. Craig closes. stacks up, does this fight for fifth even further. If you're wondering why I'm heading to London, heading there for sim racing. Well, I say sim racing and real racing combined. We have the Prodigy Draft coming up on July the 6th, where 24 sim racers will be drafted by 6 racing teams to go and compete in the Prodigy 3 Racing Series later this year in some radical SR1s. I'll be there from the Williams Fan Zone in Piccadilly Circus on Saturday hosting the event. Should be fun. We've got the winner of the VCO IndyCar Challenge season opener, Eduardo Leo, who's going to be there. And, you know, probably in many regards expected to be a first-round draft pick. Gustavo Ariel, Team Redline Zone, will be there too. He was racing in Saturday's season opener, albeit after a penalty from the start dropped him back a lap down. He did not retire. Tried to salvage a result. Still got the fastest lap and the 2 bonus points for it as well. Plenty of other drivers there. Michael Romanidis didn't get to see him qualify for the race itself, but he attempted qualifying. Didn't get a chance to show the race pace that we truly know that he does have. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. Williams Esports have been announced as the first team that will be competing in the Real Racing Series. I cannot say who the other names are. I am mum. All I will say is there's some cool ones in there, and we are looking forward to it. Anyway, Kevin Burrell's decided, you know what, let's interrupt Arjuna from going on that monologue. Down to pit lane. Followed in by Taylor. So different calls here because Taylor's on the alternate primaries coming in for the alternates. Burrell's going to switch out alternates for primaries. He revs his engines. There's only one engine, to be fair. We don't have the hybrid just yet. Off and away. There comes Sudik. Oh, this was the danger. Is he going to be clear? He's not on the button. That's a mistake. He gets swarmed. And on the less grippy tire, the problem is, well, the benefit is Dickey and Sudik come to blows. Burrell holds on to track position. Oh, but maybe at the expense of a bit of time. There's the aftermath, the damage. Fiberglass and carbon fiber everywhere. Well, they just had to make something happen, didn't they? Here we go, back to the replay. This battle had been brewing, let's not forget. So on board. Oh, Dickey overshoots. And then I wondered if there was a unsafe rejoin, but no, both drivers doing the best they can. So Burrell is now more than a full second, a full pit stop, I should say, behind Jaden Munoz. Got a lot to still fight for. What's Ben Dickey still have on his car? We, of course, saw the nose cone flapping around for Sudik. And as they do a bit of drifting, bit of rally cross of their own, to pit lane. Rashad Craig on the button. He's going to try and pass Charlie Sears in the 14. He's gone from 18th to 4th. What a charge. In that number 5, the black and green entry. Behind them, more trouble. Joseph Manning's been off the track down at the carousel. All as your leader comes around that very same section. No, never mind. Your leader is just heading out through onto the back straightaway. So it's now very much Kraus and Munoz, the battle to keep an eye on. And 2 different calls on tires as well. Let's not forget at the start, 7.5 seconds. Apparently the value across of 20 or so laps when you're on the more grippy alternate compound of tire. The Williams Esports car, bottom of your screen. It's about half a second slower than Kraus last lap. What's Kraus been cooking, though, in terms of setup? They did do pre-qualifying here for the VCO IndyCar Challenge, so they probably have a relatively locked-in set of pace, and I don't want to say setup because that was only a 10-lap run, but, you know, 10 lap, 20 laps, close enough? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, that bright pink private label team hype machine. 21st lap of the run. So Charlie Sears has just left pit lane. Let's ride on board with Phil Kraus and enjoy the sights and sounds of the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So as Jaden Munoz bails down onto pit lane, puts on his alternate compound of tire, and exits around 8 seconds clear of Kevin Burrell. We knew that pit stop may have cost Burrell time in the manner in which he exited directly into the battle pack, but now it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go. Expect to see Kraus in. At most, I would assume that this lap down. Rather tight to the apex, though. No, he's going to stay out there. There is traffic for him. A decent ways up the road. That's the 14. So Charlie Sears. Great speed, though, shown from Kraus so far today. So Ben Dickey came in and seemingly has re-emerged right back into a fight with Nick Sudik, both with fully repaired race cars as well. 1 lap down for them. Still the only retirement, Brian Carey, has passed the halfway mark. Here we go. Sudik still struggling. I think he's going to pull to the side of the track and let Dickey through. Matt Taylor also as well runs in 5th, having already pitted. He makes his way past the laps machines. So is Phil Kraus not just a wizard on track in terms of pace? Is he a wizard in terms of fuel? He'll go one more at the very least. I mean, he's still doing 108.2s. Why not? Look at that consistency from Kraus. We knew the conditions were well suited to this sort of a run. It still boggles the mind to see it and to witness it. He's on the button for the first time today. I think that's the indication. This is the in lap, and it's time to start thinking about what happens when you're on the primaries and Munoz, who's just done a 107.5, has not counted as the fastest lap of the race because I think he's got an off track, but a statement of intent. Oh my days. And Munoz is on the button. There you go. So Kraus. One more corner and expecting him off to the left here. No, he'll stay out. He lost 8/10 on that last lap. And he goes past lap 24. Let's ride though with Munoz because he'll be flying. What's it going to be this time for him? If it's a 107.4, if it's a 107.2, oh my days. Okay, may have lost a little bit of time out of that final corner on that projection. 5.84, still pretty quick. That's 9/10 quicker than Kraus. There's the confirmation that that one does count. It is a new fastest lap. If the margin was about 6 seconds when Munoz came down to pit, it's now about 4. A trip down pit lane costs you anywhere from 26 to 27 seconds. Kraus is on the bubble. His only hope at this point surely is the fact that maybe Jayden Munoz has put a little bit too much into those alternate tires at the start, but here he comes. It's do or die for Phil Kraus. The cards have been dealt. Bets have been placed. Where do the drivers find themselves? 4 Firestone tires, tank of fuel, and off and away for the private label team hype with Power Slide car. Now, best pit stall gives him the best pit time in some ways. Only 25.6 seconds from cone to cone. So Jayden Munoz actually ends up still being about 6 seconds away. He's going to be charging like a bull as that Williams Esports car. I think there is still fight in this lead. There's the traffic that Jayden Munoz is going to be staring down the barrel of. They both have plenty of push to passes at this point. Ain't no problem there. It's slightly frustrating if you're Munoz, but wait for your opportunity. He passes David Henger. Next in queue, 13 of Joseph Manning. That's still actually, being able to find another half a second on that lap, but definitely not the lap that he was hoping for. So Munoz on the button. Will he try and make the pass on Manning into China Beach? He's surely too far behind. All that did was close him up into the dirty air. Stuck still. Now through the S's. Oh, out wide for Manning. And so Munoz makes the pass in the same place, and this lap he's going to lose to Kraus. Kraus locks the right front though. He's got traffic of his own. Ben Dickey. Excuse me, that's Lucas Lodato. Very similar paint scheme. Very curious what this lap time comparison is going to show us. Says a 1/10 of a second. I wonder if it's more. Rashad Craig has gone 27 laps. He's finally into pit lane. And that means the field will cycle their way on through. It's going to be a short alternate stint for Craig to the end. That's going to be ideal. They wiggle their way out through the S's. Kraus now the one getting slightly frustrated, I'm sure. The nature, though, of traffic, it will give and it will take. You can only control so much. So Kraus are going to get the move done into turn 1, I think. Gap down to 5 seconds. Slowly but surely it's closing. Some battles out on track as well. Bevan Moyes. He's only 1.5 in front of Shady Ahmad. 7th and 8th positions. Early pit stop for Shady Ahmad, whose alternate tires are going to be a little bit already feeling the punishment, you've got to assume. But he's gained some track position on the likes of Alexander, Lodato, Manning, Henger, who are all now down a lap as traffic continues to be an ever-present concern for your race-leading battle. Jaden Muniz has got a little bit of clean air right now as Kraus emerges up through Thunder Valley. Cars the left, hooks the right, and back onto the power behind Seb Alexander. Phil Kraus about to put a lap on everyone now, officially, up to 9th position. Five seconds the advantage, though. It's definitely closing. But now they're within the point of the race where I think the push-to-passes, pretty free reign with them. Kraus gets the swap on the lap traffic. Munoz got now 2 cars between him and his prey. Over the shoulder of the number 1 machine. Hands at work just trying to balance the car as he puts the power down. So behind, again, the mix of alternate and primary compound takers that we have is closing some margins. Burrell and Taylor, although Burrell is starting to respond in terms of times. Alexander getting closed by Lucas Lodato. That move might end up happening in the next handful of laps. That was very interesting through the braking phase from Munoz, who now, with 7 push-to-passes left, burns through 1. 12 laps left to go. Matt Taylor's on the button as well as he tries to close up in his hunt for a podium. Little kiss of the inside there. Don't think it cost Munoz too much time though. Always got to love that the Williams Esports team manages to find new ways to incorporate the Duracell battery onto the Williams livery. Didn't put on the shark fin for this time. Instead, it's just on either side of that fin itself. I can't stop looking for it on the Williams cars, to be fair, so maybe that's just a me thing. Anyway. Taylor, even with the push-to-pass, by the way, drops back a little bit, so maybe he, 14 laps into the stint on the alternates, is starting to feel the pain. It was one of the things that we did wonder about with the early pit stop. Just watch the cars. That really doesn't give you a good sense for how much they're having to work. Munoz is trying, but through traffic, Kraus just has his measure right now. You always want to try and do something different from your main competition in terms of strategy. Seems as though the gap that Kraus built up at the start held him in very good stead through the remainder of the race. I think that's his last bit of traffic dealt with for the time being. So Munoz has now got, what, 3, 4? I think that might be race done and dusted. 10 to go, 9 at the line. So keep an eye on Taylor, burning through the push-to-passes. He's down to 4, but Burrell not responding with them. I think more just recognizing that his time may come at the end. Are we going to get some wheel-to-wheel action, though? Yes. Joseph Manning, Nick Sudik. Manning directly out of pit lane. And straight onto attack. He's put on the alternate tires. Shady Ahmad and Evan Moyes are getting closer and closer to one another as well. Lucas Lodado's closed onto Seb Alexander and is now in the draft. So there are, while not for the lead, there are still fights. Try and keep an eye on them as well. Speaking of, Moyes and Ahmad. Leader of course, just having gone past them. Still waiting for Jaden Munoz, you can see at the back of the shot, to be able to follow Kraus through. Patience is such a important virtue around this track. Make sure that you're not ever putting yourself in a dangerous situation with how much you're requesting from the rear tires, how much power you're going to try and put through them. Yeah, it's definitely stuff to think about. So Munoz is now stuck 5 seconds off. He's using push to pass, as are those in the midfield. And so once again, we're probably going to end up seeing a 4-way fight. Moyes, Ahmad, Alexander, and Lodado, all within drafting range right now of one another. You can see Munoz not forcing the issue. Credit where credit's due as well in terms of traffic. This can be a difficult place to work with multi-lap traffic, multi-class traffic. I'm in endurance mode apparently. Not often that we get to talk about endurance virtual racing here, as much as IMSA does come here in the real world. But so it's definitely not an easy track, especially with cars of the same speed. So they've done an admirable job to keep themselves out of trouble. Kevin Burrell and Matt Taylor. Matt Taylor is now almost under 1.5 seconds within the draft, so that's where he wants to be. The issue is he's been burning through the button, as mentioned. Just to be clear, there was a slip of the tongue. That is like the Freudian kind of slip as well, just, Still tired from the weekend, recovering. Kraus, a bit of a bobble. But he's re-established the gap. 6 laps to go at the line. And I'm about to extend a championship lead on a day where I don't know how many are going to end up scoring decent points that will actually compete with him. Lucas Lodato in that Bearcat Motorsports number 12 is just past Seb Alexander. We're 18 laps into the run on the primary, starting to struggle. That car just maybe not dealing with tires on the long run as it maybe needs to. See how Lodato breaks away. That will give us a bit of an indication. That is a good point. As Christian Hilgard mentions in chat, it's always multi-class when Phil Kraus is involved. This is definitely not quite a WOF level, just to be clear. We have broadcast some of those. Oh boy, we broadcast some of those. Let's not think about that. Jayden Munoz 6.5 seconds off. Kevin Burrell's now re-established a 2-second advantage over Matt Taylor. So, as mentioned, alternate tires starting to run out of steam if you went on them early at the end of the race. That's what's happening to Shady Ahmad, 19 laps into his own run on the alternates. Lucas Lodado's got within 1.6 of his rear end. So front of the shot now, that is Ahmad. And just behind was Lucas Lodado. You just about see him. So Matt Taylor's got one push to pass left, so does Shady Ahmad. Everyone else has still got a decent number left in their back pocket. You can see that on the left side now. Oh, big lockup, big lockup. Doesn't seem to have cost too much though for Ahmad. Lodado made a mistake, he's gone wide. He's dropped back in time. And if we rewind time, oh, you just see the puff of smoke. Car goes deep and brings it back onto track. So it is 4 laps to go for your race leader. That's the right button. Eventually we can get there. Kraus does have a chance of lapping Charlie Sears. Although it would take a mistake, I think, from that number 14. He's had a decent day. If you're on this lead lap with Phil Kraus in a race in an IndyCar, you can always be pretty happy with that, in my opinion. Rashard Craig, what a recovery drive from him, from 18th up to 5th. He's a good 18.5 seconds behind Matt Taylor, so no chance of a slip-up, I think, for Taylor to give a freebie, a free spot to Rashard Craig. So Phil Kraus last time by was actually quicker than Jayden Munoz. Tells us something about the state of the tire. And we're not talking big margins, are we? I mean, heavens. 77 thousandths on lap 38, 80 thousandths the next lap. Yeah, that's inconsequential. Well, no, very consequential, but immeasurable. No, it's measurable. It's on screen. It's whatever. Anyway, there's a word to describe that. 2 to go for the leader, as behind more traffic, Phil Kraus finds himself. Has the wind calmed down? A little bit. That track temperature, though, the one that's come down a bit more. Was that maybe a bit of an influencing factor for why some wanted to start on the primaries? Switch on to the alternates once it got cooler. Who knows? Iowa next week. After that, we make our way on over to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Should be fun. And then Interlagos, Homestead, Miami, the streets of Chicago. All into the NTT Olympic Series. NTT IndyCar's break for the Olympics later this year. It's been one of those days in the broadcast booth. Hasn't been too much fighting. There's been plenty of tension, though, and plenty of mistakes in the booth as well. Kraus crosses the line. 1 more lap to go here for the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. That 7-second advantage back to Jayden Munoz, I think, tells you everything you need to know. Kraus built that gap early doors. May not have just been tire related. In a lot of ways, he's just been flying. kept himself out of trouble with traffic, not put a foot wrong, and well, is going to slide his way out through the S's, and moments away from extending that championship lead. It's one of those tracks that rewards the drivers. I hope that we get the chance to talk to Phil to understand exactly what those last 42 laps have been like for him. How much of a challenge to keep it on the green stuff, or off the green stuff, and on the tarmac itself. Kraus out of the final corner, winning at Mid-Ohio in the IndyCar Open Series, and extending his advantage at the front of the championship. Jaden Munoz will grab second at the end of the day, and then a big gap to Kevin Burrell in the Indy Alliance Racing machine. He will round out your podium spots. Matt Taylor grabs fourth, Rashad Gregg will grab fifth, and then Charlie Sears, Bevan Moyes, Lucas Lodato, and Shady Ahmad all crossing the line one lap down, with the race officially done and dusted for them. There's a close finish between Lucas Lodato and Shady Ahmad. Lodato getting the jump at the very, very final stages of the race for them. It goes to show that you can never say never. Here's a look at the replay. Little mistake from Shady Ahmad, and a big smile, I'm sure, for Lucas Lodato. Handful more drivers to reach the line. Results will be penciled in by iRacing, pending any post-race penalties from the team that, of course, includes Nim Cross, before championship points become official and drivers look forward to the rest of the iRacing week that lies ahead. Here's a look at the race results. That private label team up with Powerslide Motorsports car 7 seconds clear of Jaden Munoz in the Williams Esports #1 as Phil Kraus takes the checkered flag yet again. Kevin Burrell, Indy Alliance Racing, in third, with Matt Taylor fourth for Madworks. Rashad Craig fifth for the Indy Alliance Racing program. Charlie Sears, Bevan Moyes, Lucas Lodato, Shady Ahmad, and then Seb Alexander, the rest of the top 10. It's David Henger, Nick Sudik, Ben Dickey, Frankie Franchichin, Nelson Ulinski, Joseph Manning, Brandon Roseborough, and Brian Carey, the 18 machines that round out the race results. Well, quick jump from victory lane to our broadcast booth. Let's have a quick chat with Phil Kraus, who joins us now. Phil, I was just saying on the broadcast, the one thing we had to kind of ask you, how stressed were you across those 42 laps? Because it didn't look like a cakewalk. This is really a driver's track.
Yeah, it's definitely completely different than what we all raced at on Saturday. It's a whole different type of beast to the Indy GP for sure. A lot more flowing, a lot more undulation changes. Not as much time to take a break and think about what you're doing, but yeah, it's always a fun challenge.
And talk to us about, the call on tie or start on the alternate move over to the primary at the end. Were you a bit surprised to see Jaden do the opposite?
Not really. It's a pretty hard track to overtake out here in Mid-Ohio. You saw that with Kevin trying to overtake Jaden those first few laps when he had the warmed-up reds and he was still trying to get his primaries built in. So I think him taking the alternate strategy was a good idea. Honestly, before this race, haven't done a lap on primes here in forever, so I'm just glad to crash out of the pits with him.
Well, we've had a chat with Phil Kraus from Beyond the Void. Let's have a chat now with Jaden Munoz in that Williams Esports #1 machine. Jaden, we were just talking to Phil about the call on tires. Talk to us about that, starting on the primaries, having to hold on from some of the pressure from Kevin Burrell, and then go on the charge at the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of made all the strategy within the last couple minutes before gridding. I wanted to start on the primaries for sure, but I wasn't sure how much fuel I should put in for how many laps. I don't know why I didn't put more fuel in for more laps, but to get an offset to Phil, but I don't think I would have won anyways. He had way better pace than me, but I mean, it's the best I could hope for. I'm happy about the result. I just wanted to race, get some laps under my belt, get the A class, and then yeah.
I see, focusing on the license and staying out of trouble, I guess, in some ways as well. Of course, you had a dramatic weekend, that's for sure, on Saturday. Talk to us about how you're feeling in the Stellara R18 right now.
Yeah, before, the last few weeks have been pretty crazy trying to understand this car. Like before, like a month ago or so, like I had no experience in this car, so it's been quite a lot of build up to this. And then the race on Saturday was, well, it was very fun, but also frustrating at the same time. But there's some stuff to look forward to. The pace was promising on Saturday, so yeah, hopefully the future is bright.
Jaden Munoz joins us for a chat in the Williams Esports #1. Quick word from Kevin Burrell in the Indy Alliance Racing car. Kevin, holding on to third. Talk us through your race and how it went, trying to hold off the pressure from Matt Taylor at the end.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure, as you're well aware, we recently had the VCO pre-qual here. So I think, all of us who were trying to qual for that as well, we put some time into the set and driving here. Way too many laps. And Matt and I were very close on pace in the end in the VCO pre-qual. So I kind of wondered if it was going to be similar here. I thought my primes would be a little better than they were, and they just, in the end, they were kind of slow. I pit a little early to them, mostly just to, it seemed like maybe there was a chance of crossover, and I totally did not get the crossover point right. So Matt was pulling up, and I was just praying for his tires to go off, and then after, about 20 laps of driving, my primes finally came in and managed to pull away a little. So yeah, it was a good race.
Kevin Burrell third on the board in the Indy Alliance Racing car as we look forward to our trip to Iowa in a week's time. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, high speed, high commitment, high reward in the short oval package for the Dallara IR18. And so on July the 8th, we hope you join us same time, same place here live on RaceSpotTV at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at the start of the new iRacing week for the first of the races as well. Always great to see these drivers get underway with limited practice in many ways. Let's not forget, at least today, they did have the benefit, the opportunity of many laps in the past, of course, in the recent memory in pre-qualifying, as Burrell mentioned there. For the team behind the scenes at RaceSpot, though, time to say goodbye. Always great to make our jaunt over to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. Looking forward to seeing what the NTT IndyCar Series has in store this coming weekend as well. We'll make our way over to Iowa and to the cornfields to see exactly who'll win in the duel on the ovals. Phil Kraus, though, leaves Mid-Ohio once again a winner and once again extending his championship advantage.